Hello everybody, this is Chaos with Thunderdog eSports, bringing you Game 3 of week number 3 of the Top Dog League. We've got ViViD Gaming going up against Prometheus Gaming. Things are all tied up, and we are playing on Habitation Station Ladder Edition. So, let's go ahead and introduce our players. Spawning in the upper right-hand corner, in the blue trunks for ViViD Gaming, it is going to be Defconsix. And spawning in the upper left-hand corner, in the purple trunks, it is going to be Prometheus Gaming, happyhobo. So, we've got a PvP here on Habitation Station. Kind of an interesting map. It's actually one of the maps that they pulled from, I believe it was either the IEM tournament. We had an excellent Scarlet game played on this map with lots of banelings. It was quite epic. So pretty interesting match. Your natural's pretty standard. One thing to note is that the ramp going up into the natural is a little bit smaller than a lot of the other maps. And then obviously you've got your option of a third base down here in the bottom left, kind of away from your opponent, or if you so choose, you can maybe take the expansion a little bit closer to your opponent at the risk and gain of getting some gold patches. So pretty interesting little map we've got here. So both players opening up with pretty similar builds, getting their gateways down, getting their assimilator, no cheese here. Now one thing we do want to note is we do have a double gas coming at here out of Defconsix. Gonna be playing a little bit more of a tech path. So obviously happyhobo is just gonna happily get his scouting done. So gonna keep an eye on how things are going over here, and he's gonna pretty much just go ahead and get his cybernetics core out just as normal. Now, it'll be very interesting to see how far this game actually goes. I would say for this map, Blink is probably not as prevalent just because you've got this very big gap going in between bases. Granted, I would say a proxy Stargate might be a viable option. Obviously, you can go right here, kind of out of the way as far as detection goes. Can get that Oracle out and maybe get in and do a little bit of damage. Now, it does look like Defconsix is going to get a pretty decent scout. Going to see when that second gas is taken, and pretty much have a good idea overall how things are going. Meanwhile, it does look like he is going to also go ahead and get that really early stalker, where his opponent is choosing to get his mothership core. So both players, first diverging in the unit aspect. Obviously, the mothership core is going to be much better for a defensive capability as far as the early game is concerned, getting that enough energy for that photon overcharge as quickly as possible. Now we have two probes coming down for Defconsix. I'm not sure if this is a mistake or if he just liked throwing a couple probes down here. Kind of a little bit different. So his scouting probe is going to go ahead and go back, and it does look like we are going to have happyhobo come in and see the natural go down, so he now knows that his opponent is going for more of an economic play. Meanwhile, we do have a robotics facility now. Ooh, hello. Coming out for happyhobo, so he's going to be taking them really quickly. We'll have to see whether or not this leads into some sort of aggression. Obviously, he's going to go ahead and leave that stalker maybe back behind a little bit just in case of any type of Oracle play or things like that. And actually, he's going to go ahead and get in here with a very nice mothership scout. He's going to see everything, including the robotics facility that was thrown down by his opponent. So looks like Defconsix is going to try and get kind of a similar scout out, while the stalker is kind of preemptively going to deny that. So looks like Defconsix is not really going to get much information out of this. So Defconsix is a little bit in the dark as far as what his opponent's doing, but he will happily drone up and get his natural expansion. And it looks like, both players are playing very passively. So as far as the tie-up game, we're not going to see anything too cheeky coming out of either player. Both players just going to happily get up their expansions and continue on, going for kind of the mid-game attack, maybe a timing or push or such. So Defconsix is getting a spare number of units. I'm going to go ahead and leave those stalkers back in his main just in case an oracle were to show up and, you know, harass a little bit. But yeah, as far as the units counts go, I'd say Defconsix is playing a little bit safer, as he's got a couple more stalkers compared to his opponent. And yeah, this is not a very exciting game, so both players just pretty much happily doing what they want. We do have an observer now getting across for Defconsix, so we will finally get that scouting information that he deeply desires. And it actually will scout the robo facility, so he does know what his opponent's doing, and he does see the first immortal already popped out. So this is going to preemptive him to also pump out immortals at the same time. Now, we do have happyhobo actually going for what I would believe is a double immortal drop, which is kind of interesting. This actually was popularized back in the Wings of Liberty days, going for, since immortals can two-shot a probe, you put two of them into a nice little warp prism, take them over to your opponent's base, and one-shot probes left and right, which is kind of nice. So we'll have to see how much damage this can actually do here. Since we do have a handful of stalkers already ready to deny that, it'll be interesting, because obviously stalkers are pretty weak against immortals. And obviously 2 immortals versus 3 stalkers, I think we all know who wins that battle. Now, we do have a robotics bay going down for both players. Obviously, happyhobo's was just a little bit earlier, so he's definitely going to be able to get out his Colossus just a little bit sooner. So it does look like the drop is going to be going in here. Hallucinated Phoenix now. So he's going to try and focus down these stalkers, which I find it interesting that he's actually trying to focus down. I was really surprised that the stalkers tried to focus down the immortals rather than try to focus down the warp prism, because had the warp prism gone down, obviously that leaves the 2 immortals back in the base just there to die. So I'm really surprised that he chose to focus down the immortals instead of the warp prism, because now obviously the immortals can regenerate their shield and be more than happy to continue on. Now, we do have another attempt of this drop, going to be coming down here, getting a little bit of damage done. We are going to see one pylon going to go down, maybe not, but the photon overcharge is going to, he's like, do I want to get it? There we go. Yeah, so he went ahead and got that pylon, which is actually a big deal, because now happyhobo, or no, I guess that would be Defconsix, is getting pretty close to being supply blocked. And happyhobo is actually going to go ahead and go for his 3rd expansion. Now, I would say, since both players have been playing so passive, obviously we had a little bit of harassment from happyhobo, but since they've been both playing very passive, going ahead and taking the expansion, I would say, is probably a safe bet, as we do have his Colossus count slowly growing. He'll have his 2nd Colossus here in about 45 seconds or so. So I'd say overall things are looking, you know, pretty good for happyhobo, as we do have another attempt of this drop going to come in and deny it. Barely getting away, actually. A couple more shots and that those 2 immortals would be long gone. So yeah. And it looks like happyhobo is going to go ahead and get his Twilight Council, which I believe is probably his best option. Generally speaking, I would say that the best composition in PvP right now is to go for kind of that mid-game to late-game high immortal count, high archon count with a handful of zealots thrown in there. And then as you get further and further into the late game, you do a transition over to air and start getting tempests, maybe a handful of void rays depending on what the composition out of your opponent is. So overall, I think he's in a good position to go and start to head into the late game, as his 3rd base is more or less already up and running. We've got full guys taking gas. And it does look like Defconsix actually wants to be a little bit greedy and go for that expansion there at the gold base, but that is okay. So the warp prism is going to be denied for now. So yes, the Nexus at the gold base is going to be taken, but I'm really, you know, being behind in the economy that he's been pretty much the entire game. It's kind of interesting that he's choosing to take the gold base, because he really doesn't have, you know, any advantage over his opponent. As far as unit counts is concerned, his opponent has just a handful more units. It's pretty close. You got a differential of 5 stalkers and 4 Zealots, but other than that, I'd say they're pretty even. Now, obviously, Happy Hobo has been getting his drones or his probes up very, very quickly, and is actually sitting at 74 drones, which, in my opinion, is a little bit overextended as far as the drone count is concerned. So he does need to be a little bit careful not to over-drone too much, because he wants to save some of that supply for his army. Now, Hallucinated Phoenix is going to go in and actually scout that there... did he scout that there is no third base down here? Yeah, it doesn't look like he's scouted it quite yet, so he doesn't know that his opponent... This is his opponent's third, so he might be feeling like he's behind. Not 100% sure at this point, so... So yeah, so Happy Hobo's just going to continue on getting up his Archons and Zealots, and pretty much happily get out more gateways and just get himself into a good enough position to rebuild his army if something were to go terribly wrong and this army not fend so well against his opponents. So haven't been paying too much attention to upgrades, but so far we are tied at 1-1, and it looks like Happy Hobo's running a little bit behind as his +2 armor is yet to be started. But it does look like he is going to be ready to set up for an attack, so we'll have to see whether or not he actually chooses to engage us. We do have a handful of probes getting sent in to check out on the army and get... okay, so it does look like Defconsix wants to come in here and try and engage this. We do have that pylon going down, so there will be no warp-ins. The Zealots are falling very, very rapidly, and it looks like we might be needing, some hallucinated Colossus to try and tank some of that damage. But it looks like Defconsix does not have enough damage here, and it looks like the rest of his units will fall, leaving pretty much all of the Colossus left to tank the damage. Now, Colossus in general can't tank damage very well, so looks like Happy Hobo is going to just get a move in here and try and take down these units as quickly as possible. Second Colossus falling, third Colossus falling, and the fourth Colossus will fall, leaving the third base fully exposed, and there's really not much Defconsix is going to be able to do with this. Now, we do have a full warp-in going into the main, and it looks like the main of Defconsix is going to be absolutely obliterated as the last remnants of his warp-ins are being done. GG is called, and that is going to be the end of game number 3, putting Prometheus Gaming up to 2-1. I hope you guys enjoyed game number 2 here in this game, 5-game series. Feel free to go ahead and click the video on the right-hand side if you want to go check out the next game, or if this is the first game in this series that you've watched, you can go back and check out the last game that was played by clicking the left video. Also, if you enjoy the casting, feel free to go ahead and hit that subscribe button down in the lower left-hand corner, or if you want, you can go ahead and click the Thunderdog eSports logo just above. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to also hit that like button and share with your friends on Facebook and Twitter if you did enjoy and would like your friends to check out the games that you saw. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next game.